At the United Nations, India has raised serious concerns over Pakistan's recent military strikes inside Afghanistan, calling them a violation of international law that resulted in civilian casualties, including women and children. The intervention came during a Security Council session that highlighted Afghanistan's deteriorating humanitarian and human rights situation. UN officials reported sharp declines in food security, aid delivery, and media freedoms, as well as the continued exclusion of women and girls from public life. Our report examines the key developments shaping the region.
More than 3 years after Taliban takeover, Afghanistan remains caught between economic fragility, diplomatic isolation, and ongoing security concerns affecting its neighborhood. Cross-border tensions, especially along Afghanistan-Pakistan frontier, have further complicated humanitarian and reconstruction efforts. Against this backdrop, India has formally criticized Pakistan's airstrikes inside Afghanistan, stating that the operations led to civilian deaths and constituted a breach of Afghan sovereignty. India's permanent representative to the United Nations, Parvathaneni Harish, told the Security Council that Pakistan's actions, including its repeated closure of border crossings and its history of supporting cross-border terrorism, have further isolated Afghanistan at a time when the country requires stable access to trade and humanitarian relief. Ambassador Harish emphasized that such unilateral steps undermine regional security cooperation and complicate efforts aimed at Afghanistan's economic recovery.
Coordinated regional and international cooperation on key issues concerning Afghanistan is paramount, as is strongly engaging relevant parties for promoting peace, stability, and development in the country. We have accordingly participated in all rounds of the Doha Working Group meetings and in other regional fora. Madam President, provision of humanitarian assistance and building the capacities of the Afghan people have always remained India's priorities.
The United Nations presented a comprehensive assessment of Afghanistan's humanitarian situation, one described as among the most severe globally. Deputy Special Representative Georgette Gagnon said Afghan resilience has reached a critical point amid multiple pressures. She stated that women and girls remain systematically excluded from education, employment, and participation in public life, with a ban on secondary and tertiary education entering its 4th year. She added that media freedoms have contracted further, with journalists facing detention, intimidation, and censorship, constraining public discourse at a time of national uncertainty.
The Afghan people continue to endure multiple crises, and their resilience, while clear, is under severe strain. Their situation demands both urgent attention and greater international support. Women and girls continue to be systematically excluded from almost all aspects of public life. The ban on secondary and tertiary education for girls persists now into its 4th year, depriving Afghanistan of female doctors, entrepreneurs, teachers, and leaders critical to the country today and for its future. Media freedom is increasingly restricted. Journalists face intimidation, detention, and censorship, reducing the space for public debate and public participation, with people excluded from decisions on their own future.
UN Emergency Relief Coordinator Tom Fletcher informed the Council that nearly 22 million Afghans will require humanitarian assistance next year, underscoring continued vulnerabilities stemming from prolonged conflict, economic stagnation, and recent funding reductions. More than 17 million Afghans face acute food insecurity, and over 300 nutrition centers have closed because of insufficient financial resources. Additionally, Afghanistan has witnessed record refugee returns this year, over 2.6 million people, many of them from Pakistan, following Islamabad's deportation drives and periodic border closures. Women and children account for 60% of those returning. UN agencies report that these restrictive policies, combined with limits on female humanitarian staff imposed by the Taliban, are directly affecting aid distribution, particularly in remote provinces.
As I witnessed when I visited Kabul, Kandahar and Kunduz earlier this year, overlapping shocks, restrictive policies affecting women and girls, the long-standing impact of decades of conflict and chronic poverty, and as of this year, massive funding cuts have left Afghanistan in severe humanitarian crisis. Nearly 22 million people will need our help in 2026.
The Security Council's discussions highlighted the urgent need for coordinated international efforts as Afghanistan faces a combination of economic distress and widespread human rights limitations. With millions dependent on external support, and with Pakistan's policies adding further strain on cross-border movement and regional stability, the coming year will be critical for determining Afghanistan's humanitarian trajectory.